tourism, and our specificity is of course the caste discrimination, saffronization of education, etc. And all these both are the part of the both neoliberal and also the BJP kind of uh, politics in this country. And so first in the series will be our own colleague who has worked a lot in that area. Actually, his PhD is on that area, and so we will have his lecture first, and we will also take other names from other colleagues in the university. And every day, almost every day, we will have one lecture on also students, and there will be discussion, etc. And so now, without maybe taking time, I will request Professor Ratnam to speak.
Friends, this is a lengthy lecture I wanted to give. I wanted to put in a political economy perspective on Karam Chedu. Why Karam Chedu is Karam Chedu happened in coming month on 17th of July. So there is some context because I think you must have gone through a lot of literature. Loud. There is a caste called Kamma in Andhra, which came to power in 1983. So there is a political economy for that, and Dalit assertion also. So caste class and political economy of this one. So let me start like this. On July 15th, there was a small incident that happened in Karam Chedu. Karam Chedu, I'll explain the geography of Karam Chedu. The small incident is that a Kamma boy, I'm mentioning the caste because it's important. A Kamma boy who is a bonded labor of Kamma landlord. A Kamma boy is a bonded labor of Kamma landlord. He was washing his buffaloes near at the drinking water tank. You have a village tankers in a coastal Andhra. You have a village tankers, and where all people in summer they take water for drinking, open well kind of thing, but it's a well, it's not 2 meter, 3 meters, a huge well kind of thing. So he was washing his buffaloes there, and one Madiga woman around her 25 to 30 years age old, Madiga woman, she is also landless agriculture worker. Madiga woman. So she came to fetch the water to that water tank. While fetching the water, she saw that this boy was washing his buffaloes, dirty buffaloes. So water was flowing, that dirty water was flowing into the drinking tank. She said that one question: why you are washing these buffaloes near at the tank, which is polluting the water? Don't you have minimum sense? So in abusive things, don't you have a minimum sense to wash your buffaloes? This is the drinking water. So when she said that, no, the reaction was from the boy that how dare you are a Dalit and you are a Madiga woman, and how dare to tell me that I am a stupid not to wash these buffaloes and all. So there was a scuffle, and that boy was almost came to beat her. So she's half of her age, that boy. So this woman very stout, and she tried to retaliate that boy, and that is the one. But she bet him actually. She bet him. He was a lame boy, physically handicapped, and she bet him, and that's over. And that evening he went and told to this landlord, Kammas. all whatever happened at the water tank. And this incident within one day so flare up, and it went on. There are quite a huge number of Madigas in Karamchedu. Malas are also there, very less number. But Kammas are more in that village. These two castes are numerically more in that village. So the next day on 17th, they gathered all the landlords of Kammas. They pulled all the tractors together, and people also gathered, and they pulled all the weapons on 16th itself. So they took weapons, tractors, and men gathered. They started hunting the people. On 17th, what happened is a massacre that took place. For that, they gathered all the weapons to that. So they did, and they butchered, and then they killed whomever they like. Almost 6 people, sir. 6 people were killed. 6 people were killed, and then it went on. So that is the incident actually. That is the incident, atrocity committed in 1985, July 17th in Karamchedu. Now why this incident happened in fertile coastal Andhra region? That is a question. And in 1985, there are 2-3 questions are raised in this. Whether it is a caste or class. That's a major debate that occurred in entire India. Because the Karamchedu is a very fertile village. It's a village mandal. A very fertile. The land was occupied and controlled by the Kamma landlords. Reddis are there, very few in that control. And it's a fertile. During the British period, there was what you call Buckingham Canal. That Buckingham Canal from the Godavari river dug up, and that canal comes and it fertiles entire that land. So you know the tobacco, you know the sugarcane, you know the paddy. This is very known for tobacco and sugarcane and other commercial crops. So how this village has become? You know Daggupati D. Ramanayudu, Senchuramaya, and his Senchuramaya's son was married to N.T. Ramarao, daughter, Daggupati Puren. So now in coastal Andhra, in Andhra Pradesh, wherever, Kamma means Karamchedu. Kamma means Karamchedu because Karamchedu Kammas are so rich. You know the D. Ramanayudu, who is the what he was called as is no more, is called as a movie mogul. So highest number of films were produced or by him. So where that money has come from? That's the one. So Karamchedu is a very rich village. So there is no, and so now let me go back to the why this incident happened. Why that Suvarta asked that boy, you can't wash this one. Earlier it was washed. There was no, earlier there was deaths in that village, but there was no question. It's not that atrocities were not committed in that village. Committed, Dalits were raped and they were killed. They were killed and put in that drainages. Women were raped and put in the drainage. Dead bodies were perished in that. There was no cases. But in Karamchedu, July 17, 1985, why it has become a national issue? That is very important, and that raised very fundamental questions. The fundamental questions that raised in Naxalbari, 1968, the same questions were raised in Karamchedu as far as caste annihilation theory is concerned. So there is a parallel relation between Naxalbari and Karamchedu. 1964, 65, 66, that is a village, 68, that is, and 1985. So if you trace the history, caste class is very important. Now let me say what happened in Karamchedu. Karamchedu, as I said, from the colonial period, it has a rich heritage of commercial crops. Commercial crops were started in Andhra Pradesh 1968 in a sense, Green Revolution was implemented. Green Revolution was implemented. That is, Krishna Godavari Anacuts were constructed in 1940. As and when they constructed Krishna Godavari Anacuts, entire coastal belt has become a very fertile and surplus rice was produced. Mrs. Gandhi at that time, PL 480 you must be knowing. Through that we were importing the food grain from rich countries. So Mrs. Gandhi, what she did, no, you cannot import the food grains to feed the millions of people who are dying with hunger. So they started Green Revolution. That idea itself was imported from Latin America. Because of these conditions, Latin America produced high yielding varieties. High yielding varieties were produced, those seeds were borrowed and started implementing here through Green Revolution. So Green Revolution has become a Red Revolution. That is a different. Green Revolution, then Naxalite, and then Karam Chedu, Chundu. This is how it has happened. And if you want to read Paris Chattopadhyay's article in Frontier, that comes from Bengal, the lengthy article is appeared almost 10 to 12 pages. Paris Chattopadhyay's article appeared. Why Green Revolution has become a Red Revolution? 1968 to 64 actually started, because you have a ICRISAT here very nearby. ICRISAT is semi-arid zones. They develop seeds which have a retaliation for semi-arid zone, and they wanted to fill the starving mouths of India. So as a part of that, Green Revolution was also implemented, and then that Green Revolution, there are three things. It is a crop specific, class specific, and it is also cash. Crop specific, class specific, and caste specific. It is Green Revolution. Whether it is a Punjab, whether it is a West Bengal, whether it is a Travancore, or whether it is a Uttar Pradesh, where sugarcane is produced, and in Andhra, which is a rice. Rice in Andhra, crop specific. Rice in Andhra, and then Travancore. That is where the Green Revolution was implemented. After Green Revolution, 45 Dalits were killed in Kilven Mani. This is why Red Revolution happened, because communist raids in Green Revolution belt only, where the Dalits were workers, and that I'll explain here. What happened in Karamchad also. So it is a crop specific. Rice must be produced, surplus rice must be produced in Andhra and Madras Madras state, and then wheat is supposed to come from Bengal, Punjab, and then sugarcane from Uttar Pradesh. So it is like that. How classes are formed, which class monopolized this one. So what happened with the Green Revolution? Green Revolution gave 2-3 things to the rich peasants of this country. What happened to that? With the implementation of Green Revolution, 1 or 2 things is, first one is, if you go to coastal Andhra, each and every village is connected with the market. The market has been connected. So market to produce and to marketing. So for market production, roads have been laid down. For after roads, electricity was laid down. And then all the there is a joke also. Earlier, all the cine tents and the open air theaters kind of thing, all the cinema theaters were converted into godowns by the landlords after Green Revolution, because to hoard their surplus rice, that is a paddy. So this is how they said. So when this happened, the Karam Chedu is affected much before Green Revolution. With Green Revolution, it has become more and more richer. So Buckingham Canal is there, which gives a lot of water in that. So it was producing tobacco and other things. All commercial crops were produced in that. So when they produced, there was, say for example, 1500 to 2000 acres of land in Karam Chedu, that village. Most of the land almost all the land was owned by Kammas and Reddys. Reddys are very less and Kammas. In this, the Dalits, mostly numerical strength of Dalits were Madigas. They were landless agriculture laborers working on their land. So with this, what they started is Green Revolution, and then prior to that, commercialization of agriculture started with the Green Revolution. Commercialization of agriculture, when this commercialization helped the class people, dominant class, and here what Dalits got is the raise of daily wages. Daily wages have been increased. Earlier, what they were doing, no, most of the Dalits were bonded laborers. With the commercialization, Dalits have become wage laborers. There is a conceptual change here. From bonded laborer to wage laborer. Earlier they were bonded laborer. From dawn to dusk they used to work. They, at the end of the year they would get something. Say 5 bags of paddy or 6 bags of paddy. Now with the commercialization, with the implementation 1948 Minimum Wage Act, that was the idea of Ambedkar. 1948 Minimum Wage Act. Ambedkar drafted as a labor minister, and that one. In that, minimum wage has to be given. So now the commercialization of agriculture helped the landless agriculture workers to demand minimum wage. That time 5 rupees, 10 rupees, not more than that. So when they started taking 5 rupees, 10 rupees daily, so what this Dalits did was, if there are 4 people in one family, 4 people used to go for wage labor. So they get 40 rupees per day. 40 rupees per day. And if there are 6 people, 60 rupees per day. With this they started their life. After over a period of 10 to 15 years, the Dalits, once if they are, now they have seen the cash in their hands. Whereas landlords have seen the cash bags, because the huge, the money was so huge, they used to go with gunny bags to the bank, it seems. All those gunny bags of money was shifted to cinema industry. They used to take it and went to Madras, that was a cinema headquarter, and then shifted to Hyderabad. Prior to Hyderabad, it was in Madras. So they kept it. So these people, they used to get 10 to 15 rupees per day, 10 rupees, 5 rupees. So they got now cash as a wage labor. Taking this cash, now they started sending their children to school. Now there are 4 people. Now we are going for children are sent to school. Now the education started, if you take the Karam Chedu literacy rate, educators started after 30 years of independence. Especially Madiga women, Madiga boys. The literacy rate here started increasing because why? Now they got cash in their hands, they got good clothes, chappal, bicycles, and all other books and other material. So with the cash, earlier they were not having the cash in their hands. They had grain in them. So they were exchanging. Now when they got the cash, so now they started sending their boys, girls to school. So education started. With the education, and then the reservations that were given to the Dalits are also, 1 or 2 people got, after taking education, they got lucrative jobs also. Lucrative clerical jobs, or at the most some 2-3 jobs. There are no doctors, no engineers, no collectors, no lawyers from that till that happened. But there are educated people in that doing very, very petty jobs in that. So that itself was considered. So social transformations was so gradual for the Dalits. Whereas the policies, agriculture policies of the post-independent India was initiated. Industrial policies that were taken were highly biased, which are in favor of dominant caste. Green Revolution as an agriculture policy helped the dominant caste to reinforce their dominancy. Whether it is a Punjab, now we asked Punjab. In Punjab, what happened, brother killed another brother. Because land cost has increased so much, because if he is there, he would be a competitor for me. So if there is a 1 acre, I have to dissect it into 2. So half acre will go to him, half acre will come to him. So if I kill him, whole acre would become to me. So that is how, because it's a fertile land. Land has become so much. So brother used to kill brother, father used to kill son. So that's how it happened. Because the competition has come, commercialization, cutthroat competition, commercialization, amassing of wealth as a start. They want to amass the wealth as much as. So here, it is a class and caste which is taken place here. The Dalits were agricultural laborers only. They have not changed their position. With the reservation, they got slowly some benefit, jobs. So with these two, with the commercialization, what they got is, so they started earning and sending their boys to schools. That is what. And with this, they also started what they said, the most of the kammas involving in trade. Once if they got, if I say 68 to 78 and 80s, they involved in agriculture, they made huge profit, because according to the Green Revolution, subsidized electricity was given to them. Electricity poles, earlier there were no electricity poles. Now electricity poles were installed. That electricity was given subsidized thing. Loans were given to the farmers with a subsidy. Sometimes no interest also. Crop loans were given to them. So the crop insurance was done. So and then pump sets were distributed freely to them. Electricity and pump sets and market and roads. Market ads were constructed. Roads were laid on. Electricity was given. Everything was free to them. Everything was taken freely according to Green Revolution. Then they took all the things and they sell it in a market with a higher price. All that money was not returned. Not a single paise they paid a tax to the government of Andhra or government of India. Because agriculture, they declare it is a drought area. They are getting 3 crops per annum, but they declare it is a drought area. This is the hot, I think, this is what, that is why Ambedkar said there must be an agriculture tax in this country. No feudal land pays agriculture tax in this country. They don't pay. If you have thousands of acres, so you have you see, in a coastal Andhra, Godavari region, I am not going to construction of Krishna Godavari Anakats. That is a different, that is, I am taking only Karamchedu village as such. Now here, see the vast stretch of land now has become this one, but they have not paid any tax, and all that money they amassed are going to different ways. So they have not percolated to. That is why we justified Telangana state also. Telangana state, because Green Revolution aim was to eradicate the regional disparities also. That's one of the aim. Regional disparities have to be curbed through Green Revolution. But whatever that was produced in coastal Andhra has not come to the dry area like Rayalaseema and Telangana. So it was concentrated in coastal Andhra. That capital was shifted to, the real capital was, the agriculture capital was shifted to either cinema industry, celluloid industry or business. Now, these people have become, after that, they established hospitals, and then they established cinema halls, the very rich, now it has become a multi-complex. Same Prasad multi-complexes you see earlier, some say for 40-50 years back, it would have been like, a tent kind of thing. Now it is a multi. All that is the roots of that money is here. So that is one thing. Now, this Karamchedu, this 1500 and to 2000 acres of the land that they were owning, the Dalits started taking a leasing out slowly, because the Kammas, because of their business, they spread across the country. So they got enough of money now. So now they looted the land, and now they are giving, okay, if you want to take, they are leasing out the land. Leasing out a lower cost. It has not started straight away to the Dalits, but slowly it has come down, leasing out. So now because they have a briefcases and gunny bags of money, they can fly, they can go anywhere. That is why when Ramarao visited 1985, that act, when they said the Ramarao visited, what they said is, in Karamchedu, Kammas are doctors, Kammas are actors, Kammas are heroes, Kammas are this and everything. So Kammas are chief ministers. What Madiga Mala you can do for me? So nothing. So that arrogancy was developed among them. So it was shown. Ramarao became a CM on that day. By that time, 83, that will come. So that is why Kammas in Karamchedu was very, very backbone for even the, Eenadu paper was started late. after 1975-76, after this one only, Green Revolution only. Eenadu paper was started, paper was with them, and cinema industry was with them, agriculture was with them, industry was them, agro industry totally was in their hands. So now the Dalits slowly got 1 acre, 2 acres of lease from them. They started cultivating. When they started cultivating, they also got the grain. So once they got it, so if they want to give 30 bags to the landlord, 10 bags to them. So now they got. So cash is there, little cash with them, and then agriculture products also they have started getting. With this, I think the self-respect of Dalits gone up. Self-dignity of Dalits gone up. Now they are also seeing the cash and other things slowly. Now they life and education, and then proper dressing, proper education, proper access to other things are started getting. They started asserting. That is why Suvarta could say to that boy that you cannot wash here. So it is not that questioning. So Rohit questioned here, but there's a lot of history to Rohit also questioning here. Many people laid their life now. Rohit is not the first and last to read. But the Suvarta also raised a question because of this, all this. Socio-economic and political conditions are changing in that village. That's helped. Now politically, why Karamchedu has become more vibrant in that? 1983, the cinema hero N.T. Ramarao started a Telugudesam party. As soon as he became 1983 came to power, within 9 months it came to power, and he started a political party. Within 9 months, the what you called unopposed 33 years of Congress, unopposed in Andhra Pradesh Assembly. There is no opposition in Andhra till now. Unopposed Congress party was defeated in Andhra Pradesh within 9 months by N.T. Ramarao. Or we know how N.T. Ramarao came to power. When N.T. Ramarao came to power, became the chief minister in 1983, and there were many atrocities have committed. All those atrocities are individual atrocities, but they have not committed this kind of massacre that happened in Karamchedu. So when he became the chief minister, and who got alliance with him? Karamchedu Kamma got an alliance with N.T. Ramarao. You can think of the status of their people. A Karamchedu, Senchuramaya, son, who was a part of Telugudesam ministry, got married to N.T. Ramarao's daughter. So that is the status of Karamchedu. You can think of it. It became to that level. So the N.T. Ramarao would not have taken, Kamma son-in-law from some backward region, I don't know, or backward family. Maybe Chandrababu Naidu, I'll tell what is this. He was going on bicycle from his hostel to university in Tirupati. He was beaten up thoroughly. People thought that he was dead. And he was, I think D. Narasimha Reddy sir will tell, he was a student of D. Narasimha Reddy. He was doing MPhil with him actually. So, he was so anyway, later he was in a Congress. We have a photo also. Rajsekhar Reddy and Chandrababu Naidu was together. They were ministers in Anjaya government. That was a Congress. So that's how, and he became minister, and N.T. Ramarao got one more son-in-law from the Congress. Anyway, that is the difference. So what I am trying to say is the political economy of one caste, how it became transformed into another, how Dalits got, class character of Dalits got in Karamchedu. That's more important for a caste class. Because when 6 people were killed in Karamchedu, Gaddar composed a song. The Naxalbari, Naxalites, they were underground, came out and participated in Karamchedu procession. There were Naxalites in there. There were Naxalites, state knows, everyone knows, there were Naxalites, and they started. This is a caste issue. It's a caste issue. It's not the class that is alone determines exploitation. It's a caste issue, that is why, and they started. Gaddar came out and participated openly. Other Naxalites came and participated. Satyamurthy was underground, came and participated. He was with Charu Majumdar. K.G. Satyamurthy was with Charu Majumdar. And Kondapalli Sitaramaya was there. All their people, they saw and what is going on Karamchedu. This is what. Now, the transformation that went on in Karamchedu can be dragged up. So when the Dalits started asserting themselves, got in education, the question that Suvarta asked is, why you are washing this well? Why you are washing this? So that why you are not supposed to ask me. You are not supposed to ask me this question. You are a Madiga. You are supposed to be under us. How dare to ask that boys? How dare to ask this question? And this dareness was his transformation. The transformation 1983 was capturing of political power in Andhra. That is Karamchedu was a very very important village. That is why many people did a study. So on that, so that is a political economy. Now after incident, now we'll go political economy of Krishna Godavari Anacuts, how Krishna Godavari districts have become fertile, and why Chandrababu Naidu is so particular of making Amaravati as a capital. What is the history of Kammal? There are lot of on that, and that we'll leave it. Krishna Godavari Anacuts, how Sir Arthur Cotton constructed that, and then Krishna Godavari water were used by this cause, and then what they did other things. Now coming to the Karamchad again as a debatable thing, whether it is a caste or class, whether it is a caste. APCLC brought out a report on Karamchedu. Virasam brought out a report on Karamchedu. Individual intellectuals brought out a report on Karamchedu. And Karamchedu victims themselves spoke on Karamchedu. So now there is a divided opinion on Karamchedu. What is why Karamchedu happened? I gave just very brief into it, but it's not a deep analysis also. Why Karamchedu? What happened in 1964, 65 or 67, 68 in Naxalbari? Why this happened in Andhra Pradesh? That is also Naxalbari, that is also very, the workers have taken and all that. This is also very fertile land. Why this happened, this atrocity happened? Is it a class war? It's not a class war. It's a caste war. Caste war, who perpetrate violence on whom? That's more important. So APCLC, Virasam, at the time APCLC, Virasam, they concluded that it is these are the bonded laborers. Labor comes from the landless agriculture working class. It is not they mentioned Madigas, but they never said that they are the caste atrocity. Virasam also said, Virasam reports are available. Virasam, whether it is a caste or class. When now Dalits got from anti-caste point of view, now it is said. Now if you take it as a class issue, say for example, the boy who was washing buffalo is a bonded laborer, but come, the woman who asked question is a Madiga woman. Both are in class terms are bonded laborers or landless agriculture laborers in terms of class. But in terms of caste, they are different. So that caste arrogancy made them to perpetrate this violence. That's very important. So in that cases, there are debates on whether it is a caste issue or class issue. So the Dalit says that it is a caste issue. It's a caste issue. As Ambedkar said, class in caste idiom, classes are formed among the Madigas. Because once they started getting, with the help of commercialization of agriculture, they started cash in their hands. With that cash, their life has started transforming. With a little cash, 10 rupees, 15 rupees, enough for them, 10 rupees. With that little cash, they started, prior to that there was there are reports. Madigas are not having chappal, even if they have chappal, they prepare chappal. They cannot wear chappal while walking that streets. They cannot walk. So they cannot wear proper clothes. They cannot buy the bicycles. They cannot buy any vehicles. They cannot even travel along with. In Andhra, that time there were buses. Now bus comes, government bus comes. It's a village. It stops there. There is a time also. It has to go. But till the landlord comes and board into the bus won't start. Even any other people board into that bus, they cannot sit into that. They have to wait outside. Till the landlord, you must have seen in movies. This is the movies, you must have seen it. Till the landlord comes and board into the bus, that is the first seat. Conductor has to, make it very neat. He has to sit and then, bus, then it starts like that. This is the attitude. This is one. So government functionaries, the government, all the institutions that are there, all are under their hand. That is why I said, laid down electricity. Electricity is electricity was not laid down to the lower classes. It was first to the land that what you say, fields, agriculture fields. That was pump sets were given, all that one. So now caste class issue, how Virasam interpreted, how APCLs interpreted, how Dalits interpreted. So if you take this is this is as a class issue, why this happened? Why this happened? That is why most of even the most radical CPIML Maoist parties also got a split on this issue. Karam Chedu made a crack that what you call the caste class debate. This is a caste class issue. You cannot say it's a class issue. At the same time, you cannot say it is a caste issue also. Class and caste are both are combined on that debate, and there was a lot of debate taking these incidents into account. Now, the Karam Chedu Dalits, the martyrs, what were their history? They say. What was it? Most of them were bonded laborers, as I said. They were very. Now, what was the pretext that say? How various. I'll take one or two incidents. How newspapers which are dominated other Eenadu is headed by Ramoji Rao, who is a commoner. How he interpreted. The very recently started newspaper by a Kapu, who was a cinema director, who started a newspaper 1984 at that time. 84, 83, 84. 84, 83, 84 I think. Dasar Narayan Rao started a newspaper first time, alternative to the Eenadu. Earlier, there was only Prajashakti, that is a CPM party, that was not much in circulation. Eenadu was the biggest circulation as far as Telugu Daily is concerned. After that, this is the one. You have a Indian Express related paper that was Andhra Prabha. These two are very important. Now, Udayam, how it presents? It headline says is like headlines, Panta Polallo Dalita Netturu. Panta Polallo Dalitula Netturu, blood. Other papers reported there was a group clash in Karam Chedu that led to the killing of 6 Dalits. There's a groupism. But first time, Dasar Narayan Rao, who made some movies with progressiveness, if not radical, who put this headline, the Pantapalalo Dalitula Netturu. So taking that headline, Gaddar composed a song. When there was a, you see how this, Karam Chedu Dalita Veerulu, Mruta Veerula song, this Karam Chedu Pulul, Dalita Pululamma, Karam Chedulo Sabosam. So Dalita Pululu. So earlier, Dalits were not, they are not lines, Actually, if you ask me to explain their body structure who were killed, this was explained in reports. They were very stout. Physics was so very, they are all beef eaters, we know. They are very stout. They from dawn to dusk they work in a field. They were very, very good in build. They could have killed at least 3-4 people instantly. But knowing that, as I said, all the arms and tractor was collected previous night. They gathered all the arms, crowbars, knives, and then all the mostly crowbars were used, and they collected in a tractors and they attacked, knowing their physique. They hold them and kill them. Otherwise, individually, had they come without those arms and tractors, they would have killed them in turn. But that was not the case. So this how it happened. So whether it is a caste and class, again I am coming back and forth I am coming. Sorry?
So can we shift, sir?
Yeah, I will. Sorry.
The agricultural lands were soaked with Dalit blood.
The agricultural lands, they started taking tenants. They have become tenants. Earlier they were landless agriculture laborers, or what we call bonded laborers. We call in Paleru. Now they started because they got huge money. Now they are not in the landlords. They have a huge money. Now they are not interested. Now they are in search of investment. They are in search of, if you take this is also related to education. By 80s, Andhra, the nature and character of Andhra education has changed. Earlier you have a government schools and other schools. Now this Narayana and Ratnam, other schools, or Chaitanya is a Ratna, all those, they started schools, corporate schools, much long. Mid 80s itself they started. Actually they were postgraduates without jobs. They were tuition masters. Today, Narayana and Chaitanya, Narayana is a minister who is going to start first private university in Andhra. Now, billions of rupees are there with him. He was a tuition master. Was not offered even lecturership anywhere. The tuition he started now converted Narayanas and Chaitanyas. That's one. So the starting for them and this one is very different. The class character, that's how they got it. So they got from wage laborer from bonded laborer to wage laborer. Wages are given on that day itself, whereas bonded wage was given at the end of the year. So now Dalits got everyday cash in their hand, 10 rupees, 15 rupees. With that, the transformation one thing. And reservations are another thing. And now with that they started taking the lease from the landlords. Why there? As I said, they were in search of capital. They were no more interested in the land. And now whenever they get lost, they come back. You see, you know how D. Ramanayudu explained his case also. He was having 2 acres of land. He already exhausted with all the movies investment, and he has a 2 acres of land. With the 2 acres of land, 1 acre he sold, and that invested with the Nageswar Rao, ANR. That's how he made whatever that lost for the past 15 years in the field, he got in one movie. D. Ramanayudu himself explained. I listened to him because I wanted to listen how economy was. He was explaining very neatly how they were called as a rights. All our economists says, they use the right word. Right, who is a very very deceiving word, right? You have 100 acres of land, but still you called as a right. Right? You have a 1 acre of land, you also call him as a right. So the TJ Byers in Journal of Peace and Studies, they have written a lot of articles on this. Who is a right in India? You have 150 acres of land, but still you are called as a right. And Right Kuli Sangam. Right Kuli Sangam, this year no rains, we need a waiving of loan. 60,000 crores of rupees waived. Who got benefit? These rights only, so-called rights. Rights are landlords. So all these questions were posed in Karam Chedu. What is a class? What is a caste? Which castes are under this? Which caste class are under this? So now the caste class debate started, and Karam Chedu is a epitome of the anti-caste struggle, because it's a class struggle. So if you have any questions, you can ask, because there is information in with me. I can start also. Yeah, I can ask some questions.
So when
We can shift to the tent also.
you said that even the CPI ML, the debate started inside that, the people's war actually. So how do you have any idea what sort of debate happened? And, yeah, sure.
Indian National Congress, Indian National Congress was the sole representative of all the castes during anti-colonial struggle. Indian National Congress, where all the castes, industrialists, workers, everyone was with the Indian National Congress. Okay, that's why Gandhi was, one way we praise the Gandhi, because he was able to pipeline the support from what he calls horizon to the Birla. Horizon to the Birla. So the scavenger to the richest person in India were behind the Gandhi, because landlord, men, women, lower caste, upper caste, industrialists, everyone was with Gandhi. That's a great reason. Anyway, so Indian National Congress was the sole representative of anti-caste, anti-colonial struggle. So 1925 Communist Party came in there, because of there are so many debates that I am not doing. After coming to the Communist Party in India, it was the first Congress party in erstwhile Madras presidency was dominated by Brahmins. Almost till the Prakasham Pantulu. He was the last chief minister of Andhra. Till then, Indian National Congress was dominated by Brahmins. So knowing that, 1925, when Indian Communist Party was started, I think Reddys and Kammas en massely attracted to the Communist Party. So that is it. So that is why 1925, that is one incident. And after in late 30s, when it was became bigger party, most of the Reddys and Kammas were in Communist Party, undivided Communist Party. Brahmins were in Congress. So that caste, if you see, that is why there is a very good article, Selig Harrison, he wrote in 1960s, taking Ambedkar's statement in Parliament. Parliament in Ambedkar 1948 made one statement. 1948, Kammas and Reddys of Andhra, Kammas, Reddys and Kapus of Andhra are going to emerge as a dominant caste in future. He made in Parliament, 1940. Taking that statement, Selig Harrison, one of the top American social scientists, political scientists, wrote an article. What is this? Communist of Andhra. That is what headline. It's available in American Journal of American Political Science. That's very interesting. And there are books also. Lot of books. If you read Karmila Nagireddy and then even Konda, from 1925 to what should I say? Kondapalli Sitaramaya to Puchalapalli Sundaramaya. CPM, CPI, CPM, CPML, Maoists, all are again Reddys. You see, that connection is there. To that. If you take the caste wise, because caste has become visible now, you can't hide it. So now the communist parties are also taken as a caste. Because that was eye opener. That's why Karam Chedu, there wasn't. So what is that? If you are a casteless fellow, why you are not drawing water from Madiga well? We should take water from Madiga well. So they refuse to take water from Madiga well. And they refuse to take dining. Now, Maoist movement, that is a different. That's later. After Karam Chedu, there is a lot of what I should call as a Gorbachev term, glasnost and perestroika. What happened? Liberalization happened there also. Now going to their houses and eating and that's happened after Karam Chedu. Karam Chedu is the real perestroika or glasnost for communist movement as far as communism. Earlier there was guerrilla warfare there and we can listen together how it was happened. But Congress was for Brahmins, communists were for Reddys and Kammas. And over a period of time, 1953, Brahmins were almost rooted out, Reddys occupied Congress, and communists are continued with the Kammas are coming reverse. If you see that, ideologically I am not talking. Ideologically I am not confining to them like that, right? Ideologically there are Kammas and Reddys who sacrificed their life, and Puchalpalli Sundaraya, he gave entire from Nellore. If you take the Nellore is also a very classic example, I must say. Today what Chandrababu Naidu is telling is that we are going to get from Singapore engineers, Singapore constructors to build a national capital in Amaravati. They are not Singaporeans, they are not. All the migrated Reddy Kammas from Nellore, they settled some 100 years back in Singapore. The huge skyscraper buildings were constructed by Reddys and Kammas in Singapore, Bangkok. You go and ask them. Singapore, Bangkok, all the East Asian buildings were constructed by Reddy contractors. This is known. They are very, very that is, this money has come from, again I am saying, from Green Revolution. And in construction of Krishna Godavari Anakats. This is that money has gone spread across, but money has not come to the underdeveloped region of Telangana, the next region of the Rayalaseema. Both are dying, but coastal Andhra money has gone across the globe, but not the Telugu-speaking people of this region. That is why regional disparity, Green Revolution also created regional disparity. It's a crop-specific, class-specific, and region-specific, and caste-specific also, as we said. So, what I am trying to say is, Kammas and Reddis, they fill the gap of communism was taken by communism. Dalits were there, here and there. Gail Womath has written in a Dalit Democratic Revolution in her book, Dalits were there, but they are workers. Erstwhile Communist Party, CPI, CPM, they were there, but they were not that visible. One or two leaders, they could emerge up to the mandal level, not even district level also. They were organizers, that's all. But the entire leadership was with Kammas and Reddis. First two decades of Communist Party headed by Reddis, and then it was occupied by. When the Congress was, Brahmins declined and then entirely gone to the Madras presidency, the Brahmins, who two people were, Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan and all that were almost gone, and Prakasham Pantulu, and what is his name, official historian of Congress. These are Pattabi Sitaramaya and Tanguturi Prakasham. These two are prominent as well Madras presidency, and they continued till 1953. And after that, two people were Tanguturi Prakasham and P.V. Narasimha Rao. These two Brahmins were dominant, and P.V. Narasimha Rao was made as a chief minister of erstwhile Andhra, and then prime minister level he has gone. These two Brahmins were dominant. After that, from Neelam Sanjeeva Reddy onwards, if you take the Andhra political history, it's very important. So Reddis occupied Congress, and then communists both were there. Almost the entire Congress was, that is why it is not the unopposed party, unopposed Congress party. One Reddy is against another Reddy. The dissent in Andhra, very peculiarly, G. Ramireddy has written an article on it. Peculiarly, dissent in Andhra Assembly is Reddy versus against Reddy. Janardhan Reddy would oppose Jana Reddy. Jana Reddy will oppose the Vishnuvardhan Reddy. So, dissent and opposition comes from within the Congress. Factionalism. That is why Congress in Andhra known for its factionalism. There is no opposition till the emergence of Telugu Desam in 1983. That is why Kammas has asserted that we got our actors, our doctors, our politicians. We are the chief ministers. That's how in Karamchedu they declared. What are you saying? If any Madiga walks, oh, aim right, ra. My word doctor, ra. My word actor, ra. They used to say, my word hero, ra. But heroines are not. Imported from Gujarat, imported from Marathi, imported from Bengal, and other southern actors are exported to Bombay industry. I'm sorry, not deeming. See, because Rekha, Hema Malini, Sri Devi, they're all from Madras, our own people, but they went to cinema industry. So, like this. No, this is the political economy of Andhra. That's what I'm saying. It's a political cine industry. Cinema played an important role. Cinema, industry and agriculture. Now, based on that, you have a information technology. Chandrababu Naidu, for construction of high-tech city, he has a lot of history. His forefathers constructed cinema halls that was destroyed. Their forefathers were having tobacco barneys. That was destroyed. On that basis, you got cinema halls. What you got touring taxis. Those was destroyed. Then you have a real estate. From real estate to high-tech city. So there is a history that you can trace it out. So now the communists, in what you asked, the communists in way is very important because it's not at all the commercial. The way communist doctrine was taken in Andhra, especially in Andhra, because they have direct relations with Bengal. Andhra communists had a direct relationship with Bengal. So that is why it's easy to from Naxalbari to Srikakulam to Dandakaran to Telangana region. So earlier, even Telangana armed struggle also, you see Puchalpalli Sundaraya and all, they were coming from this rich region. Telangana earlier, 1948 to 51 armed struggle. So that region again went back to this one. So this is a geographical region, and then caste, all are there. I think the way Kammas are in communism is also very important. It's not that we can't say the landlord, but equally. That is why today we are making we are criticizing CPM especially. CPM, we are, despite their supporters, we are academically we are saying that today when NT Ramarao came to power, lot of lands are given for construction of their parties. Whose building? You can see Puttalapalli Sundaraya, that Kendram itself, in the center of the city, and it was given by Ramarao. Now Chandrababu is giving. Now I was told in Amaravati also some 500 acres of land was given to them to connect the toll. So there's a lot of. So what I am trying to do, the revolution, where do you get a revolution? That's a very different. No, Kammas, the spreading across Congress, they were not. That's why in 1982, May, when Ramarao started political party, he assessed all this. He made a manifesto. He read everything. And 1982 he made party. 83 he captured the power. So the culmination of political culmination of Kammas, so we could see with the emergence of NT Ramarao. Politically, economically, socially, they were there. And there are, if you read Andhra history, there are a lot of Kammas who gave land to the Dalits, and they constructed hostels for them. And there was intercaste also. In 1930s, I know Kammas had intercaste marriages with the Dalits. Community. 40s and 60s also. 50s and 60s also. There was that progressive section. They helped them and they got educated. Dalits were brought up under them. But when they got political power in 1983, and they shown the real color with the Karamchand. That's all. That's very important. But their journey in the communism also we have to need, but that is a different. We have a lot of literature on that because in my thesis also I have written that. So any other, it's not properly structured because I have asked me then anything that we can. Because today, if you see the real estate business in Andhra or Telangana, the land that was there earlier agricultural land converted into commercial land. That by mid 90s, that earlier it was paddy producing. Paddy was produced, surplus paddy was produced, rice was produced. Taking that, NT Ramarao, first not the NT Ramarao, earlier Congress was giving kilo for 1 rupee 75 paise kilo. But Ramarao made it as a 150 rupee, 1 rupee 50 paise later. Later it was made 2 rupees kilo 2 rupees. So a question came, in a surplus produce, rice surplus producing area you have, what you call rice bowl of India, where giving kilo rice 2 rupees is a mockery. Where is that surplus rice has gone? What rice that you are giving to them? It's a surplus rice is produced in Andhra, and you are giving kilo rice for 2 rupees. Whom to say this thing? So that was actually but it is a popular scheme that was read in a political literature, but it's not correct actually. But what I am trying to say is, after rice production, when the lower caste got access to this rice, and they start. You ask any some 90 years or 8 years old people, if they are alive in Andhra, they have not eaten rice in their life. They used to take only millets as a food, stuffy food. Rice, when rice came surplus, now everyone is getting access to that. Now the lands are converted into what we called prawn culture, pisciculture. The lands are destroyed. Now in coastal Andhra, the vast stretch of fertile land is not fit for cultivation because, as I said, in high yielding varieties, they need excess of fertilizers and pesticides. Excess fertilizers and pesticides are used. That land is not fit for cultivation. So that's why they themselves converted into what we call prawn culture and fish culture, where double the amount that they got last time. Now, so that is how they turned into their lands into that one. So there also Dalits got it. Nowhere, I think we must ask the question, where was the question of land ceiling acts here? Why land was controlled? Where were the land ceiling acts? Why land redistribution was not done? The land distribution, land ceiling what? Land ceiling act was first done by P.V. Narasimha Rao. I'll tell one small story and stop it. Why P.V. Narasimha Rao, a Brahmin, interested in land ceiling act in Andhra? That's a very interesting question. Because when Brahmin became a chief minister, Mrs. Gandhi made him, because nationally, if you read Andhra history, Reddis especially, they were challenging the Mrs. Gandhi's power at the center. Reddis here, they challenged Mrs. Gandhi's power, hence he could not hold them, Reddis, so he made Brahmin as a chief minister. When he himself was not received by Reddis and Reddis basically, so he to woo the SC, ST, BCs and minorities, he started a land ceiling act. Urban land ceiling and agriculture land ceiling. Today urban land is owned and agriculture land is by whom? Land ceiling in urban areas and land ceiling in agriculture. So then when he started land ceiling act to implement what nonsense we are doing, you go back. So he was chased out to Delhi. The same thing was happened when a Dalit became a chief minister in Andhra, Sanjeevayya. He was not even received by his own cabinet ministers. So this is the political history in Andhra. So Karamchedu has a lot of history. So that history you can read Andhra also. What is Andhra? I'll stop here if you have some. But what we have to study is the institutional mobilization of Dalits, where Karamchedu, Chundur happened. One institutional is a political mobilization of Dalits by communists, political mobilization by the state, giving reservations, and then political mobilization of their own activities of Ambedkar, Vivekananda Sangam, and anti-caste. But they are not anti-caste struggles really in the sense, but only untouchability, to the untouchability level. So they were Harijana Sanghas and those. So at 3 levels Dalits were mobilized. So 3 levels Dalits mobilization was took place. So that was culminated again in Karamchedu and Chundur.
In the same period, look at in Maharashtra, there is the Shetkari Sangatna who is mobilizing. If you look at Karnataka, it's a Rayatu Sangam. Or in UP, it's a Charan Singh who is mobilizing, peasant, again for demanding state benefits from state. So, where is there any such kind of a mobilization here?
One thing from Dalit point of view, it's good to say Dalit Panther movement emerged in Maharashtra. Why it could not come into Andhra? Because proximity, geographical proximity of Maharashtra to Telangana, it could have easily come to Telangana, Dalit Panther. Why Dalit Panther movement could not come to Andhra, Telugu speaking world? Because that's where we have to ask, already there was an equally powerful radical struggle in Andhra in the form of Naxalism. Most of the Dalits were lower level, including the now what you say Gaddar, Satyamurthy, and then many people, they were all with the Naxal movement. So that is why Dalit Panther could not come into the Andhra. So it was stopped there. Had it spread across the neighboring state, I think Dalit movement would have a different twist altogether. That could, because Naxalism in that way, caste class was taken, they were not over, but by 1985 it opened up. So that's, as you asked, in Maharashtra, Punjab, Haryana, there were two, Green Revolution. In Tamil Nadu, West Bengal, and Uttar Pradesh, Andhra Pradesh. These are Green Revolution affected areas. So the Bhutan, not Bhutan, is what you asked, is an agricultural movement. 1975, if you take Indian political history, Mrs. Gandhi declared Garibi Hatao. Garibi Hatao. So Garibi Hatao, we know how loose slogan it was. Why it was? Why at that point of time? We must understand the politicalness of that. Because 1968 she introduced Green Revolution. By 10 years, I think 1975, the Dalits, Adivasis, minorities are organizing as a landless agriculture workers. Wherever there was a Green Revolution, what she introduced was Garibi Hatao. And one more thing is, landless agriculture laborers and landlords connection, there is one organization that is called Marginalized Farmers and Landless Agriculture Organization was created by Karun. And she created for agriculture laborers, and she also created for industrial workers also. Industrialists and workers have to have some cooperation. So landlords and landless agriculture must have a cooperation. So there is I am not getting marginalized farmers, and that is there is there is one association. So with this, she wants to contain the dissent that comes from the green. Already communists are organizing. Dalits are attracted to that because Ambedkar politics was in the form of Congress. Most of the Dalits are in Congress because Congress gave reservations. Most of the, as I know, 53 seats in Andhra Assembly, 53 seats were occupied by the Congress. Reservations. No communists, no other, because the Congress was. So Gandhi, Ambedkar replaced with Gandhi, if not Indira Gandhi, Gandhi, Mr. Gandhi, Gandhi. So the Garibi Hatao slogan was very loose and empty. So that slogan came out of this to contain the redness of Green Revolution. So workers were uniting all. So Garibi Hatao, that was not worked out. And then all the marginalized middle class farmers emerged as a powerful. That is why Sharad Pawar and then Saran Singh, all these classes, even in, as you said, in Karnataka, middle caste and class farmers emerged as a dominant. They started asking more and more benefits. More and more benefits. What was that? More and more subsidies for agriculture, not for reservations. More and more subsidies for agriculture, more and more drought relief for farmers. Farmers here is all the dominant caste farmers. They have hundreds of acres of land, but they are farmers. They were getting, to get the state benefits, they farmed and did. Now I am not saying genuineness of that. There is a genuineness. With that only, by 80s you could see, by 80s and 90s, emergence of Vokkalikas and Lingals in Karnataka because of that struggle. So they have become emerged as a very feudal kind of thing. So even in Uttar Pradesh also, Yadavs, Bihar also Yadavs, and then Maharashtra, Pawars, Patels and Pawars, Gujarat Patels and Pawars. So the emergence of this section replacing the Brahmins, these sections has emerged. So Dalits fight now, the caste is more and more coming. The more the middle class caste or class are emerging, Dalit sections are emerging, caste struggles are visible. That is the one analysis. Marxists may not agree with this analysis. Marxists may not agree with that, but our analysis, my analysis, I want to say this is the one. But you are right.
Another thing is in Maharashtra, if you look at Mahars are always with Congress and other small
Congress.
Congress,
Yeah.
and other smaller groups like small other within caste Samaj, Matang, Mang Matang. They are mostly with Shiv Sena or other opposition parties. So here Malas and Madigas are most groups. How their alignment was?
That's a very interesting question. That's how Ramarao really comes into picture. Till 1953, Andhra was formed. 56, Andhra Pradesh was formed. 1953, Andhra was formed. 1956, Andhra Pradesh was formed. So there is a two differences. So 56 onwards, till 1983, Malas were dominant in Congress as a scheduled caste. Because why? at the cost of Ambedkar, all the welfare programs that were introduced in the name of Nehru, in the name of Indira Gandhi, in the name of Gandhi, they were given the educated sections of Malas. Malas captured them. So if you see 53 MLAs of assembly in Andhra Pradesh, erstwhile, most of them are Malas. Most of them are Malas. Cabinet ministers also Malas. You could see the Mala emergency, Malas emerging as a chief minister, first Dalit chief minister in India. First Dalit chief minister in India. And first Dalit who became a Congress president, Sanjeev Iyer. So Malas are elevated in between Reddys and Kammas. In between Reddys and Kammas, Malas are elevated along with the Brahmins. Brahmins have become, once the Reddys took over Congress, Brahmins have become minorities. So minorities of Brahmins, minorities, SCs and STs were the vote bank, what you call vote bank of this one. So where Madigas were secondary position. When N.T. Ramarao started political party in 1982, he could read this history. BCs were not given prominence in Congress as along with Malas. So BCs, Madigas were main social base of Telugu Desam. Kammas led BCs, that is why most of the Gauts, most of the Idigas, most of the BCs and some minorities, most of the BCs and Madigas. They were, in fact in his manifesto, party manifesto, mentioned that Madigas would be given preference, not Malas. So that is why first atrocity was committed in Padirikuppam, where Malas have not voted for Telugu Desam. First atrocity prior to Karamchedu, first atrocity was committed in Padirikuppam. N.T. Ramarao's warning, he was taking oath as a chief minister, and Dalit huts were burned. The same equally. So that is why Malas continued in Congress. Madigas jumped into Telugu Desam party. After Karamchedu, that is a very, that's a very
Because it's a Kamma dominated party.
Kamma
They would
dominated
have
party.
lost that,
In fact, Kamma gave a preference to them. But this is a very, very, very dialectical question. Madigas are with Kammas, Karamchedu happened. Madigas are with Congress, Chunduru happened. See, Reddys and Kammas. There in Kammas, in Chunduru it is the Reddys who committed against Malas. So this dynamics very interesting in Andhra. So anyway, it's a part of the political economy.
Despite their political affiliation, when it comes to the caste question, then there is absolutely no protection despite their political leaning.
Yeah. No, we left a lot of about the caste, self-respect, self-dignity, how it was, That question can be narrated differently, but we took mostly political economy and political sociology, if you take note. So suppose in Karamchedu, earlier Karamchedu has a tobacco field. They for one barrel, they called it as a barrel. One barrel they used to get 500 like that. So it has gone 1500. So all the price protection that government gives, what you call minimum prices. Minimum prices were given, increasing. Minimum wages were not increased, but stagnated. Minimum prices for that they got increased. So that is why Green Revolution, all the subsidized Gramina banks were established to give loans to landlords only. Banks were established. That is why she nationalized the banks also. Along with the Green Revolution, she nationalized the bank. Earlier, 64 she nationalized, then Green Revolution, Indira Gandhi. So through nationalized bank, they started giving interest-free loans to them. They got free pump set, free electricity, free water, free fertilizers. Andhra, you go any small, no? You see huge fertilizer shops owned by again Kamma Reddys only. And they were subsidized fertilizers and given to them. And then when the crop comes, they took all that, again declaring it as a drought area. No, this year excess rain was there were floods, our crops were washed away, you give us. So floods also helped them.
No, like Sainath's book, everybody loves a good drought.
Good drought. 60,000 crores into second UPA government, UPA government waived no loan. All the Kamma Reddys and Patels and Pawars only got, no? Who got it? Yes, sir.
So what is the role that the Telangana movement,
Yeah.
then I mean what is the role of of caste dynamics in the shuffling of power between TRS as an electoral formation, the Telangana movement as a people's movement, and the relationship with this established Congress TDP divide of different constituencies, caste-based constituencies to vote for them? How did the Telangana movement and arrival of TRS as a party change those caste dynamics?
Yeah, I think we should ask Lakshminarayan sir and Avinash and Satish should take on Telangana, because that is I should not encroach their rights. And Vijay sir is there. Vijay sir also can speak on Telangana, because Telangana dynamics caste is 1948 to 51. That is one movement, and then Rajakars movement and other things, and how the Reddys and Velamas and Patels means Reddys only. Brahmins fought against Rajakars, that caste dynamics till the formation of TRS and the galvanizing of upper caste support to TRS, and then again pushing all the other caste down, and how Telangana movement as a reason, specific reason, sentiment help. That's different actually. We can have a different lecture on it.
People's War
That is
movement in Telangana is also significant.
1940
Because Karimnagar, Warangal and all were
Yeah, that
totally
is-
under people's war at
Yeah.
one point, and
So there
many
are many
Reddys left
dynamics
their
helped.
villages and ran away. Medak, Warangal and all those. The
Now,
Reddys left
suppose
their
if I-
land which was redistributed.
If I take the analysis, so Bal Gopal sir, Aragopal sir and D.N. Rao, their analysis is coastal Andhra is a caste, because caste address disease, green revolution caste. Rayalaseema, Telangana is a class analysis, coastal Andhra is a caste analysis, Rayalaseema is a factional analysis. So factionalism. So here it is a more of class analysis applicable, where all the sections came together in the name of region. So Madigas, Malas, Brahmins, Reddys, Kammas, everyone participated. Of course, ultimately political power was given to Velamas. That is different. They claim now to the what they say is Kakatiya rulers. Velama rulers. After 400 years. No, but this is different dynamic. But this is a class analysis and region. But caste is also is there. Now it is coming up. You see, Madigas are very powerful in this region. They are asking for reservations. They are coming up actually. So now if you take the present movement, present thing also, most of the Madigas are occupying the berths in these things. That's also one thing.
In TRS or no?
And TRS also, yes, TRS is also. Madigas are there. That's why Mala, that one fellow, he made a statement. No? He came out, he was not given. Kukla Ishwar. He was not given, and then he made a statement. This is a sub-caste issue. But now caste alliance in caste politics, caste alliance in Telangana politics can be easily, you can see how Reddys and others are coming and joining in TRS. So that is also, that is different. We can take it up differently. Yeah. The literary is there, literature is there.